Hello, welcome back to Side Press. I am Patrick McCorry, and I am joined by an old friend of mine, Giannetti. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. Just hanging out today, relaxing, recovering. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. What's a normal kind of recovery day for Giannetti look like?
So, it all depends on like if I'm in or out of camp. But if I'm out of camp, if me and my girl can go down to like a local bakery, just get some like get a croissant or something, just like a nice little treat, and then we'll take the dog to the park, walk like three or so miles, just some active recovery, and then we just hang out, watch movies, catch up on TV shows. Nothing too crazy, but still keep the blood flowing.
And we're about a week removed from your big win, a 27-second ninja choke. Just how awesome is that, man?
It was great, man. I couldn't have asked for a better result. Kind of close that little chapter in my career with that rivalry and kind of silence some haters.
And obviously, you had the first fight with Jacob, and you finished him in that fight. Was what, round four, I believe. But how good it feels, kind of, as you said, shut up the haters, and just, I mean, finish a guy in 27 seconds. Even if it wasn't a rivalry, that's still amazing.
Yeah, it felt great, and I tried to explain to everybody after the first fight because I did miss weight. I was like, obviously I owe him a rematch. I was like, but don't think I won because I missed weight. I was like, I was sick that night. I had stuff going on. I go, this is the worst version of me. So I'm just happy I can beat him on my worst night. And I told everybody, I was like, on my best night is not going to be the same fight. And I went out there and showed that.
And going back to the Michael DeFort fight, a tough loss for you is a loss that you hadn't taken a while, right? You hadn't taken a loss in a while. You take this loss. Where's the mental side of the game to that? Like, obviously, a loss is a loss, but like, where is it? Where were you at mentally after that fight?
Mentally, afterwards I was in a really dark place. I kind of isolated myself for a little bit. I'm not really a huge fan of like, you know, you take a tough loss and, everybody gives you that pat on the back, like you're fine, it's gonna be all right. And I know everybody means well, but it's just like it's not reality. And like I tell people all the time, like I hate losing, like I despise it. Losing sucks, but that's not why I get so upset, like from losing. It's what comes with the loss. It means, my dreams are that much further away, or at least delayed. If I had won that fight, maybe I get signed to the UFC afterwards. Now it's like all the haters use that argument online, like, oh, well, they can't sign you because you just lost 2 fights ago. But it's like, out of my last eight, you're gonna hold it over my head for one. So, I have to sit with that reality of like, because I lost that fight, maybe it's gonna take a little longer to get back in the show. So I just had to sit with those thoughts and accept them, come to terms with them, and then still get back to work. And like I said, I didn't want that pat on the back, like everything's all fine and sunshine and rainbows. I kind of like to weather the storm and accept it and fully feel that sadness or disappointment, and then get back to work.
And I mean, you got back to work in a big way with the flying switch head kick. I mean, that's a perfect way to right a wrong, right?
Yeah, 100%. I'm just a huge advocate on like, obviously it doesn't. I don't want it to take a loss for me to level up, but I promise after any of my losses, I will level up every single time.
And obviously, last night was a big UFC event. It was kind of a lackluster event. Let's be real, like a lot of decisions. It's for you, it was probably tough sitting as a European fan, sitting up until about 7 a.m. for that event, man. That was a tough run, and then I had to work today on 3 hours of sleep. But Dustin Poirier, an absolute legend, takes a loss of the fifth round Russia. What did you think of that fight, him and Islam Makhachev?
Dustin performed way better than I really thought he was gonna. He defended takedowns really well. He was using the cage to escape. He was staying calm and collected when Islam took his back. I think he took a couple of things from the Volkanovski fight and, adjusted it to him and was like, if I get stuck there, I can recreate the same problems. And he made it difficult for Islam to take his neck, and he brought it to him a little bit. But, the fact that Islam kept on him the entire fight and he outstruck him, the numbers were there, and then he gets the tap and puts him to sleep. It was a great fight from both ends, and it's nice seeing high level fights with mutual respect. That that borderline of like not too much, but like this is a competition. Like we're very competitive, but like it's respectful for the most part. That stuff like makes me happy. We can still put on a great fight for the fans.
And that takedown was pretty darn sweet, right? The ankle pick,
That ankle pick
brings him
foot
right
sweep,
back.
yeah, that was
It
nice.
was like a little get right back here kind of takedown,
Yeah,
right? you're not getting away from me that time because there were a couple times in that fight where Dustin kind of just slipped out, right? And he pulled his leg up, but Islam seemed to adjust to that and drag the leg back.
Yeah, no, that was just like a perfect technique, ankle pick to the foot sweep. You don't see that much in MMA, and you'll probably start seeing it a little bit more now.
And you've been in a training room with Islam Makhachev, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and all those guys at AK. What makes them just so special in terms of their work ethic, their ability, just everything?
Even in training, it's the same as his fights. He's just locked in, like he likes to joke around and stuff, but it's only before and after training. Like when once the training session starts, like it's locked in, get to work what he's got to work, and he does it to the max. Whether it's sparring, grappling, wrestling, whatever, like he's a workhorse, and he's not playing around, and he's the good training partner. He's not trying to hurt anybody, but he's getting after it. Like there's not going to be like he hits a nice takedown and it's like, haha, that was nice. It's like no, 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 we're going. Like it's almost live.
Yeah. And going back to the what you said before is after the four fight, maybe it might take a little longer to get to the UFC, right? That's obviously your goal. Where do you see this roadmap lying now? You've reclaimed your titles at Cage Titans. You're in a very good place. I believe there might be an announcement coming. Am
Yeah,
I
Cage
right
Titan.
on?
Yeah, Cage Titans told me they got an announcement tomorrow. I was trying to pry. Everybody's texting me about it. I kind of pried with them today. I was like, yo, who's the biggest fight? I don't know who they got either, but I want to know.
So
I want
you're
to.
not involved.
I'm not involved, but I want to know. But I kind of got pissed because I was like, now if I'm not involved, I want to know who the biggest fight is.
But I think someone said you and Peter Barrett. I think that was one of the
That's what
ones
I've
that
I've been getting those texts all day, and that's why I texted Cage Titans and I was like, yo, who's the biggest fight if it ain't me?
because I was like, this interview will probably go up after the announcement. I was like, oh, I could get this out of him. I could get this out of him. But
Dude, I
sorry,
got
man.
so
I thought
I
you
got
were.
so many texts. Like my buddy texted me at like 8 a.m. and he's like, "If it's not you and Pete, I'm gonna be pissed." And I was just like, "You're gonna be pissed. I don't know what to tell you."
Is that a fight you're interested in though?
Yeah, man, I've been asking for that fight for years. Since I was like, I think I was only 19 when I first asked for that fight, and at that point in time, it was, "Oh, you don't deserve this fight. You don't deserve this fight." And I was just like, "If I don't deserve it, then come shut me up. Let's just end this right now." And then we had our little rivalry, and I got on tough, and I brought him to the UFC PI to train, and I thought we squashed it. And then I got cut. I was fighting on the local scene, and he was cheering against me, yelling some heinous shit. I told him that we could run it. He didn't want to, and then after years of kind of badgering to get that fight, he went quiet. And I was like, all right, he's kind of taking his spot like as my bitch, and he's not going to say anything anymore. So I just stopped calling him out, and then after his last fight, he started running his mouth again, and then, like I said, I ended up calling him out after my fight because I was like, people were forgetting. There was people online like Joe doesn't want to fight Pete. Cage Titans doesn't want Joe to fight Pete. And I was like, hold on, hold on, hold on. You guys are all mixed up. So I had to remind him. But yeah, man, I'd love to have that fight. That's just something that forget belts, forget, records, forget careers. Like that's a personal, like we need to settle this.
And Cage Titans is an amazing promotion. I've been there. I was with you when you fought Trevor Goody. Um, just how special is that Plymouth Memorial Hall, man?
It's something else, and I've been luckily I've been almost in every part of that hall. Like as a fan, I've worked Cage Titans as security. I've fought at Cage Titans. I've cornered. I've done media over there, and from every point of view, it is just one of the most special, local promotion venues that I've ever seen in the sport. And I think anybody that's fought there or been a fan or done media can attest to the same thing.
And do you see yourself maybe fighting outside of Cage Titans on a maybe, Fury, LFA again, or even overseas?
Yeah, man, I'd love to. I think, and I said this after my last fight, I think my time at Cage Titans is winding down. We're kind of just getting to the point where there's really nobody left in the local area. I'm number one in the Northeast, number one in New England or in Massachusetts, number nine in the country. So it's like, we're kind of getting to that point where it's like if the UFC is not calling, then we got to go take out a couple. I'm not number one in the country. I'm number nine. So we got to start taking out some big fish. But there's plenty of other champs. I'd love to fight. I want to fight George Hardwick. I feel like that would be one of the biggest fights outside of the UFC. I feel like me and George Hardwick is the fight to make. I want to fight the LFA champ. and I'm sure I'll get hit with the same like you don't deserve these fights, and it's like all right, then come shut me up about it.
Well, do you think George Hardwick would like to come to the hall, or do you think you'd have to go to Cage Warriors then?
I don't think Hardwick would want to come to the hall. I feel like some of those European guys kind of look down on us because we're not on Fight Pass and all this stuff. But like, if you've never been at Cage Titans, then you just don't know. Like, you're observing. You can't even get in. You're on the outside. But I'll go to Cage Warriors and take all these belts. I really feel like a lot of these other promotions kind of look at Cage Titans belts as not meaning so much. And like, I'm telling people, like, I'm the guy. Like, you don't think it means anything? Then let's go belt for belt. Like, winner takes all. Like, if you win, you could take my belt. I win, I'll take your belt.
And I mentioned overseas before. I talked to Andrew Valdina just a day or two ago, and there's a promotion. You've probably seen this called Octagon, right?
Yep.
Have you seen this promotion? Would you be interested in getting one of the shows? Because dude, they sell out like 20,000 seater stadiums, and they're doing a stadium show in Frankfurt, near where I live, in October. 55,000 seater. They've already sold out 45,000 seats.
Yeah, that'd be sick. A lot of these promotions, like I haven't been in contact with. I see them on Instagram and stuff. But yeah, man, I'd be down. You pay me, you give me publicity, and you get me a fight. I'm there.
And they're currently doing a tip for Game Changer tournament in the lightweight division, which is kind of like a Grand Prix based tournament.
I like
Um,
that.
there's a lot of really good lightweights. Makwan Amerikani went over there, obviously big UFC
Yep.
veteran. Akon Wanless is a very good fighter. You've probably seen Losan Keita as well. Like,
Yep.
just do you think the sport is kind of evolving to have like proper competition for the UFC? We've seen Bellator come up, we've seen PFL, but nothing really comes close. But I can tell you, like being at the shows, having been at the UFC, like Octagon's coming close, man, no joke.
Yeah, I think it's weird. I think talent wise, I think the competition is getting close. I think there's guys all over the world that aren't in the UFC that could compete in the UFC. Um, I don't know if the promotions themselves will compete with the UFC. I feel like they're just kind of like I don't know. They're looked at like the NBA, the MLB, like they're like the league. Like people still call MMA like, oh, you do UFC, like you know what I mean? So even just that like improper grammar is something that keeps the UFC above everyone else. Like nobody's like, oh, you train Bellator? They're like, no, you train UFC. You know what I mean? So it's little things like that I feel like will hold the UFC at the top forever. But talent wise, yeah, man, I think that there is competition outside of the UFC, and it's a lot of good series of events for guys to make it to the UFC and become stars.
Do you feel like you mentioned the MLB, like the UFC is kind of like the MLB, where like these regional shows, they're kind of like the minor leagues, right? And you're the guy sitting in AAA playing amazing, just kind of waiting for your coach to go, yeah, you've been called up, buddy, get out there into the show.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly how I look at it. I grew up playing like every town league sport around. Like I played baseball, basketball, soccer, and so I was a big fan of all those sports. And I kind of just try to treat MMA the same way, as much as it is different, you're not getting drafted, you're not going through college and playing sports. Like, but yeah, I look at it like you got these AAA leagues and you've got a kid that's over there and you're like, damn, we got to get him in the MLB. Like I'm that guy.
Yeah. And what position did you play when you played baseball, by the way? I just want to.
So I was a pitcher and I played first base.
Nice. Were you good? Were you good?
I was a good pitcher. I mean, I don't think you really be bad at first base, but I was a decent pitcher. And then I threw sidearm, so like my elbow was always sore. So I was like, oh, maybe I don't want to do this sport. And then now I've grown up, and I was like, wait, like they're the most paid athletes like out there. Like I should have stuck with baseball.
Oh, have you seen Paul Skeens? I mean, he's dating Livy Dunn, and
I
yeah.
have seen that. Man's just living the life.
Let's get. I'll get back to you and yeah. You mentioned Peter Barrett. Are there any other fights that you'd be interested in now?
Um, Locally, like as far as Cage Titans, I don't know. Like I said, I'm in this weird spot where it's like if I'm gonna have to fight UFC level guys from another country anyways, like I might as well do it like in the UFC or for it's not like I'm saying that Cage Warriors is below these other promotions, but unfortunately, like that's what people think. Like they just have this incorrect idea that it's below them. But it's like I said, I love the George Hardwick fight. I've been commenting on posts for years trying to get that fight. I think he's really good. He's exciting, but I feel like stylistically, I'm a bad matchup for him. Um, the LFA champ. I think they have that fight this week actually for the lightweight title. I would love to fight the winner of that fight. And Yeah, there's plenty of fights all over the world for me outside of the UFC, and I'm down for all of them.
And if the UFC didn't come calling, would you look at maybe taking in contract with the PFL or something like that, as your former opponent Michael Dufort did?
Um, I don't know, man. It's tough, I think it'd be an easier answer like if it was actually a reality, if PFL came knocking on my door and was like, "Hey kid, we got this spot." Maybe, also like, my ego's there. I'm a fighter, I'm a competitor. If it was like, "Hey, Michael Dufort's opponent pulled out, we'll give you a contract, you're an alternate, you're fighting him." It's like I don't know if I'd be able to say no to that. Like everything in me wants to get that one back.
And real ones remember the Skeletor bus, right? Are we bringing that back sometime soon?
So I sold the bus. I got the van now. I got the Skeletor
Right.
van. I used that for my Dufour camp. I'd love to bring. I still drive around as my daily driver now, but I'd love to take a trip in it soon. Money's just been tight, between trying to get these fight camps going, guys pulling out. I got the wedding at the end of the year. I want to jump back in the van and head to AK as soon as possible. But just one day at a time. We got to see what sponsors roll in and what ticket sales are looking like.
You gotta make more content in that thing. That van is sweet, man.
I know. I get crap for from my buddies all the time. I'm like my biggest problem is like I in fight camp I lock in like so much. Like I'll
Yeah.
I'll stop answering text messages from people. Like I'm just thinking about the fight. I'm training, like making sure I recover, get enough sleep down to the minute. And then like I come out of this fight camp like after the fight and I'm like, oh, I haven't answered texts for like the last month. I haven't posted on YouTube. I haven't posted this. It's hard. The balance is hard.
And I know you like the Five Guy meal post fight. Did you get your Five Guys?
I didn't get it yet. I think I actually might get it for dinner tonight, because afterwards we went to Tavern on the Wharf. I had a bunch of pizza and
Right.
I was like, next day I was like, oh, I can't eat that today because I ate a bunch of crap last night. And then I got right back in the gym this week and I was training and I was eating pretty good. But like all weekend I've been like, yo, I still haven't had my burger.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I'm so jealous of that Five Guys burger. If you're having that, man. I haven't had junk food in a while, man. I've been on the cut myself, so
Hell yeah.
it's
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
no, it's good, man. I mean, what, 20 pounds, 20 something pounds down. So
Good
it's
stuff. I like that.
but yeah, it's substituting everything with protein powder. It's not,
Yeah,
it's
I
not,
feel you. I've been
not
there,
the best.
bro.
But yeah, just speaking as a man, as a fighter, like, is it tough when like you're this good? I know, and everyone knows how good you are. Like, really, when they watch, is it tough when you're seeing these guys in the UFC and you're like, no, I can beat that guy? Like, is it tough sitting there watching these UFC events and you're like, no, I can beat him?
Oh yeah, and the worst part is even like right after I got cut from the UFC, I was the next weekend I was sitting with my buddies watching fights and we're all sitting there going, I beat that guy. I beat that guy. I beat that guy. And then like nowadays you got these fans that are like, well, you lost to so and so outside of the UFC, so you don't belong. And it's like, no, no, no. You give me A, B, C, D in the UFC, like I'll be 4-0, It's all depends on who you fight. And there are lightweights in the UFC that you give me right now and I'm choking them out in the first round or I'm knocking them out. It's stylistic, it's who you get matched up with, but say I don't belong is absolutely insane and I'm gonna be one of the best in the world. I'm already number 9 in the country, but when I get on those world rankings, like I'm aiming for the top and there's already plenty of guys that I have more fights than, I have more experience than, and I'm already better than. I have more fights professionally than half the UFC roster.
And former clan opponent of yours, I know we've talked about this before, and Paddy Finlay, you're probably tired of speaking about him, but he is fighting Bobby Green in the not so distant future. What do you think of that fight?
I think that I will be in shape and ready to make weight on short notice if Bobby Green stubs his toe. Yeah, I get asked about that fight all the time, and I've been a little quiet about it sometimes. I've been outspoken about it sometimes, but deep down at the end of the day, I want to get my hands around his neck. That's a fight that I need one day. I'm looking forward to it. I know he's not looking forward to it. He's looking forward to, bashing me on Twitter, but Twitter fingers can turn to trigger fingers, and in the cage, there's no Twitter. So I'm excited. I want that fight. And like I said, I'll be in shape come fight night. And if Bobby Green gets hurt, then I'm going to be advocating to take a spot.
And in a couple of weeks, Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler is coming up. For a while, everyone's like, okay, Conor's taking this seriously. And then the video comes out of him in his bar, and it's the same Conor McGregor. So what do you think? Do you think maybe he's planting a decoy, like a Ryan Garcia kind of decoy?
I mean, if anybody were to do something like that, it would be Connor, like Ryan's little mind games looking crazy. It worked, he put himself as the underdog and bet on himself and won. I could see Connor just making everybody thinking he's going to lose and then coming out and smoking Chandler. Like, here's the thing is I didn't really look too deep into it. I don't know if there's multiple videos from different angles. That could have been from months ago and he just posted a video. So who knows?
Yeah, there's no proof of like that the video being on that night, I guess.
Exactly. So, if it is true, if he was out the other night at the club getting drunk, partying it up, unfortunately, like he could still knock Chandler stiff. Uh, but I don't think it's gonna happen. But who knows? Maybe he's trying to play a game and he's locked in and this will be the best Connor we see.
When Chael Sonnen was talking about it, he said it's the most disciplined man in the sport taking on the most undisciplined man in the sport. I thought that was a really interesting analogy. But what is your official prediction for Chandler and McGregor?
So I've got two, and it sounds like a cop out, but these are the most realistic outcomes. Either Chandler comes out, gets into a little bit of a scrap, and then he takes Connor down and chokes him out. Just too much pressure, too strong, or that left hand connects as Chandler steps in. Gun to my head, I lean towards Connor. Chandler gets hit a lot, and Connor hits like a Mack truck. I want Chandler. I think that outcome's more likely, but I have a weird feeling that he's going to get caught on the way in.
Thing like I do really like Chandler, and I was rewatching the Poirier fight over the weekend before the Natasha fight, and he gets overexcited sometimes. I think that's where his issue is like because he is so talented and you see how hard he works. I'd be very upset for Chandler if he has that moment where he's like gets excited and gets clipped then, because obviously 2 years waiting for this fight. He hasn't fought since the Poirier fight. Do you think Chandler looks at that and think, okay, this is something I have to shore up against a guy who is as good of a counter striker as Conor McGregor?
I would hope so, but at the end of the day, I feel like Chandler's kind of sold his soul to being a showman, almost that Gaethje-esque, like, yeah, I'll go out there and take a couple more punches, if it gets more fans in the seats and it gets my paycheck a little bit of a boost. So I would like to think that he looks at this fight and goes, okay, when I hurt him, I just got to stay at what I'm doing, don't slam the gas down. But I feel like some habits die hard. I don't know if he's going to change it up too much.
And just finally to wrap up this interview, where can the people find you on social media? And if you want to shout out any sponsors or merchandise, here's your platform.
At Giannetti MMA on every platform. Two N's, two T's. I keep it the same. I keep it simple. Two Fight Bros, caged in. I've got so many sponsors that help me out. Uncle Charlie's Finer Diner around here. If you're in the South Shore area, Hane Reels, you guys are all the best. Everybody that's bought tickets, T-shirts, etc. It helps out so much. Whether it's from me or your favorite fighter, I say it every time. Go buy them. And then merch you can get at GiannettiMMA.com.
Perfect, man. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.